104.5 The Team, your home for New York Jets football. And, of course, because we are lucky enough to be tied to the mothership, ESPN, we are also lucky enough to have Field Yates join us right now. Field, tonight the season begins. What's the real impact for the Patriots not having Julian Edelman?
I would say this. Is there a chance, even a very good chance, that the Patriots lead the NFL in points scored this year? Yeah, there is. But I also don't think that this loss of Julian Edelman can be overlooked. And, I'm not saying the offense is better without him. I would just say that, there is an aspect of his game that extends way beyond the field. This is a player that in some ways exemplifies what the Patriots look for in their players. I mean, he entered the league as a former college quarterback who's played cornerback, he's played punt returner, he has obviously played wide receiver. He's done everything the team could ever ask of him, and he has an exemplary work ethic as well. So in terms of the locker room presence, I think that's something the Patriots have to account for, and they can do it. I'm not saying the offense will look necessarily dramatically different, but I also don't want to say that, hey, you lose Edelman, you plug and play with the next guy, and things just continue on without any bumps or waves along the way. There are certainly some aspects the Patriots have to account for.
Field Yates with us. Field, when Roger Goodell makes his appearance tonight at Gillette Stadium, what do you expect to hear from the crowd?
I expect it to be like, when New York Jets or other passionate fan base fans are disappointed in their draft picks during a draft live. Like a few years ago when Knicks fans booed Kristaps Porzingis being drafted. I expect it to be like that. The bottom line is that Roger Goodell, regardless of the fact that Deflategate is, for all intents and purposes, in the rearview mirror, obviously there is somebody that is somebody that will forever be sort of public enemy number one in the New England area. So I'm sure that this being the first time he has made a public appearance, or one of the first times he has been back in New England since the Deflategate matter came to a close, will lead to a heavy chorus of boos for as long as Roger Goodell is in the public eye.
That's going to be tonight. On Sunday night, it's the New York Giants taking on the Dallas Cowboys, and Ezekiel Elliott will be in the backfield for the Cowboys. How do you expect the rest of this Ezekiel Elliott drama to play out for the rest of the season?
Well, I would say this. I think that we know what Ezekiel Elliott's status is for Sunday night. As you just referenced, he will play. I just don't know that, people who have asked me, does that mean that he's going to play all 16 games? Is this thing going to drag out and his suspension will be served later, like next year? I think he's still got a very good chance to sit out from weeks 2 to 8. The Cowboys have their bye in there as well. The NFL has dug its heels in, and obviously the NFL has the backing of the CBA, which allows Roger Goodell to be the judge, jury, and executioner. Harold Henderson has already ruled in the NFL's favor. So to me, it feels like a long shot that Zeke Elliott serves anything but 6 games, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens from weeks 2 to 8.
Field Yates with us right now, of course, NFL insider for ESPN and the Fantasy Football Focus podcast as well. The other big name on that field is Odell Beckham Jr. We're hearing about injuries. Do you think he plays?
If he plays, I think the impact is probably close to status quo. I mean, he's such a dynamic player, and it feels like a guy that, he can basically show up on the football field 5 minutes before kickoff and be the most dynamic player on the field. Ben McAdoo was given the assurance he does not need to practice before Sunday to play in the game. I still think that Odell Beckham Jr. is the preeminent player in the league when it comes to taking the routine play and making it extraordinary. 3-yard slant turns into a 70-yard touchdown. So as long as he's playing, guys, I'm not betting against him. And this is not, I'm sort of just reading the tea leaves here. I feel like given that it's week 1 of the season, I don't think the Giants would trot Odell Beckham Jr. out there just to be a decoy. You just as soon keep him off the field until week 2 or whenever it is he's healthy, then have him go out there and be a decoy with no on-field factor and perhaps put himself at risk of further injury.
Week 1 means real football, but also fantasy football. Players you love this week in their Week 1 matchups and players you'd avoid playing in Week 1.
Well, I would say this. It's hard to say that I'd avoid playing anyone in Week 1, guys, just because, listen, there are so many unknowns in fantasy football. But the players that I like a lot this week include, but are not limited to, at the quarterback spot, the non-traditional starters. Like, I love Carson Palmer this week as a fill-in. I love Tyrod Taylor this week as a fill-in against that Jets defense that I think will be better than the Jets offense, but I don't think this Jets defense is going to be, one of the top 5 in the NFL. And that could be because you need to replace a Jameis Winston. You're picking one of these players, or even a guy like Dak Prescott, who we know has a very difficult matchup going against the New York Giants. So those would be a couple of guys at the quarterback spot. They could be fill-ins. I would say at running back, I'm a little bit concerned about split backfields. Like, I'm concerned about Denver and C.J. Anderson. I'm concerned about Seattle and potentially Eddie Lacy or potentially Thomas Rawls. I don't really know which of those two players you feel more comfortable starting. So those are some of the ones that I'd probably shy away from more. And in terms of week 1 running backs that I love, I think Carlos Hyde has a chance to be a really, an integral part of a San Francisco offense that, to me, has a lot of upside, even with, a lesser degree of talent than other offenses around the league. And then I'm in on Danny Wood, and I think there's a good chance that, especially if you're playing in PPR scoring, he could get you 15 points, because I think that 7 catches is well within bounds for him.
Field Yates with us right now, 104.5 The Team. So, Field, we had our work league draft, and Goz is a big Buccaneers fan. My first pick, a 10th overall in the first round, I grabbed Mike Evans. I've been rubbing his nose in it all along because I've got his favorite and he has to gear against him. And now I can't play him this week. I know karma's slapping me a little bit here, but are there some sleepers out there I can look to maybe, not look like a total idiot in front of Goz this week?
Well, here's the good news. Is I know, first of all, our thoughts are with everybody who was impacted by Hurricane Irma and those that were impacted most recently by Hurricane Harvey as well. We are not trying to say that football is in any way more important or more consequential than what is taking place down there right now. From a fantasy football standpoint, this means that after this you get 16 straight weeks of Mike Evans. So it's not necessarily it's not an issue, right? I mean, he's going to play 16 games one way or the other. He has to sit one out. But I believe that, in terms of fill-in plays that could be available in your league, Ted Ginn would be a name that comes to mind. Of course, Willie Snead is currently serving a suspension. Adam Thielen is a guy that comes to mind for me. Now, he's pretty well owned right now, but he's a guy that maybe was drafted later than other players that you're considering as surefire starters. I think John Brown for the Arizona Cardinals would also be some names that might not be widely available, but could be guys that fill in and serve some great purpose in your lineup.
It doesn't matter who Levack starts, okay? Field, that's a nice answer. He's going to get beaten. He's going to be beaten up. That's
my team's name is Feast Mode, by the way. A little play on the round.
I like that.
Yeah.
I can get on board with.
Let's get to the Super Bowl. We also had to do this for the station today. We gave our Super Bowl picks. We'll do it throughout the show today. Let's put you on the spot. Super Bowl 52 in Minnesota. Who do you think is going to be in the big game?
I think for the first time since 2003 to 2004, we have a repeat champion in the NFL, the Patriots, over the Green Bay Packers. I think these two teams have, obviously the best quarterbacks in football, but Green Bay really retooled its offense this year in free agency, adding a pair of tight ends, and Martellus Bennett, Lance Kendricks, and the defense should be better for no other reason other than it's healthy. And for the Patriots, I don't want to say it's self-explanatory, but the team has an incredible amount of talent. It's got a great quarterback. It has, clearly the best coach. And to me, I think the Patriots are primed to repeat for the Super Bowl this year.
Now, Field, you're going to be joining us on Thursdays, so if it ever looks like that's wrong, of course, we will attempt to rub your nose in it. But realize that I took the Seahawks over the Raiders, so I went out on a limb, basically.
Not terrible picks. No, I got no issue with those. Those are okay. Listen, I think Super Bowl picks should always be open to to discussion and debate. But I am all in. I think both Seattle and Oakland are playoff teams. I just don't know if they'll advance all the way to the game that allows you the right for the Lombardi Trophy.
Field, thank you so much for making time for us. I know you got the podcast. You got every time I turn on the NFL live shows, there you are. So we're really thrilled that you're going to be part of the show this season.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.